We are talking about net neutrality, Matt. And my question to you is, what do you know about net neutrality?
Nothing.
You know nothing.
I know nothing about
Great.
net neutrality.
Well, let me inform you. So, John Oliver, who is host of Last Week Tonight on HBO, he used to be on The Daily Show, I believe. He basically looks like he's trying his hardest to be a parody of the Beatles. Like, if that's what he's going for, like, he is killing it.
You mean like look?
Yeah, the way he looks. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, there's that bit about him. Needless to say, never really been a big fan of his. But now that we have certain political things happening, I want to say it is the let me get this information right. So, the newly appointed chairman, his name is, I'm probably going to butcher this, Ajit Pai. He has made a statement that net neutrality increases uncertainty in the ISP market, and he said that it's evident the rules were a mistake. So, basically, I want to say 2 years ago, we put basically a measure into place for net neutrality. Net neutrality, in its simplest way to define it, is basically telling ISPs, internet service providers, such as Comcast, Google, Verizon, AT&T, you cannot make fast lanes of travel to certain websites and then restrict like traffic to other websites. Think of it like if you are on Netflix is not allowed to have a faster connection while the rest of the internet might have a slightly slower connection. That's it in a nutshell. It's trying to keep everything equal connection, through government regulation. And John Oliver has reached out to gamers and YouTube celebrities, and pretty much anyone who uses the internet to uphold the idea of net neutrality. He went on to say, every internet group needs to come together like you successfully did 3 years ago. Every subculture must join as one. Gamers, YouTube celebrities, Instagram models, Tom from MySpace, if you're still alive, we need all of you. That last bit was kind of funny, I'll admit. So it sounds great on paper, right? It sounds great, this will stop, private companies from basically being the gatekeepers to the internet. And basically I kind of have loosely gone over the argument for it. It's basically to prevent, companies from restricting access to certain information. Well, problem with net neutrality is that you're just basically handing that power over to government. And they're arguing that, the internet is basically like a utility because the electric companies, they're regulated by the government. They can't raise their rates too high. Same thing with water companies, gas companies, they're regulated. The difference between internet and things like electricity, gas, water, what do all three of those things have in common that the internet does not? Take a wild stab. Let me ask you this. Is the internet a need?
No.
No. Do people need the internet to survive? No. Are there parts of the country where, yeah, you need to have electricity, gas, and water specifically to survive?
No.
Okay, now you're...
Is that the wrong answer? Crap. I meant yes.
Okay. That's why it doesn't need to be regulated. See, the problem with the example of using something like Netflix, saying like, oh, you can't, charge Netflix to like have like a higher speed, because that's what was actually happening. I believe Comcast had a deal with Netflix to allow Netflix to have a faster rate of service. Netflix, of course, was paying Comcast to have the higher tier speed, and everything was working fine. In fact, this exists in the market as it is. Like, you can get a package with 25 megs down a second, or 50 megs down per second, or 100 megs down per second, or now we're up to a gigabit in a second download.
How magical would that be?
Here's the big issue with it. Who's the one who's creating these networks? Who's the one that are actually putting the lines up, putting in fiber? Who's doing this? Is it the government? No. It's companies like Verizon and Comcast and Google, because they want to give better service so that, number one, they want to get better service out to more people so that they can make more money. Yes, this is how capitalism works. It's driven by greed to an extent. But we wouldn't even have the high-speed internet now if it weren't for companies operating underneath the rules that already exist, which are very free and open. And it's never happened before, by the way. There's never been an example where, let's say someone on Reddit bashes AT&T's customer service, and then AT&T is like, all right, let's see how you like this, and just slows down all the bandwidth going to Reddit. It's never happened. So it's kind of like we've had years and years of companies being the gatekeepers. They've never done any of these things that you say that they're going to do.
But wouldn't it just be fun to watch the world burn?
Okay, there, Michael Caine as Alfred.
I think if, like, oh my goodness, if they slowed it down for, like, Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube,
Facebook,
I'd love to just hear sirens, just anarchy breaks out in inner cities. Just all these hipsters don't know what to do with their lives anymore.
It's as though billions of voices cried out in terror, but there was no silence to follow.
I would make a popcorn stand.
Just for yourself.
I just keep
But
scurry around, you ants.
and the thing is like the reason why the deal existed between Comcast and Netflix is because Netflix uses most of the internet bandwidth there is in North America. It's somewhere we went over the numbers before, but I want to say it's well over 50% just for Netflix traffic. Because if you're out there and you're listening to this, probably you already know this stuff, but I'm going to cover it anyway. High definition video and high quality multi-channel audio, when you stream it or download it, takes up a lot of bandwidth, especially when you're streaming it. Takes up a lot of bandwidth. So when you're using bandwidth, the internet is not an infinite, we don't have infinite bandwidth. Okay, when you have an internet connection, you are most likely sharing it with the other people you live nearby. People don't really have like a dedicated line of service. It may have been sold to you that way, but it doesn't exist. everyone's kind of going in through the same portal or gateway, and every area has only so much bandwidth to give. Well, if everyone is on Netflix, if everyone's on YouTube watching the highest quality they can, well, then other people can't even do basic things like check email or just browse. It gets to the point where everyone's using the maximum that everyone will start to actually have trouble with that service. If everyone watches Netflix at the same time, that would pretty much crash networks. And then guess who has to pay to repair those networks? The companies that own them. Not the government, but the companies that own them. So this is a net neutrality. It has a nice little ring to it. It's stupid. It doesn't actually do what it says out to do. And all it does is just takes the keys out from private companies and hands them over to a bureaucrat or a politician. And then they get to decide what websites need to be blocked. So yeah, I don't like the idea of it at all.
Yeah. Doesn't sound good. But I consider myself a libertarian, so whenever the government takes hold of something that really belongs to the hardworking person, I'm always just
that actually built it up themselves.
Yeah, it's like most people might not like capitalism,
but it's by far the best system we have going.
If you're willing to work hard and put the effort into it, and people are going to pay you lots of money for what you do,
it produces the most wealth, bar none. There's no other system in the world, economic system in the world, that produces more wealth.
It's really just lazy people that complain about capitalism because they don't want to work. They want socialism because it's working out real well for other countries.
Right. So yeah, John Oliver, and he joins the crowd of all the late night comedians. Trevor Noah. He just had a major tiff with healthcare. Jimmy Kimmel. Actually, the only person I don't think who's not throwing their hat into all the political talk on late night is Jimmy Fallon, of all things. So
Conan.
Yeah, Conan O'Brien. He's even said things.
Oh, I don't
yeah,
know.
he actually has. I've actually it's can you just be the funny person I want you to be on TV, and not alienate half of the people that are potentially watching you?
I really haven't watched Conan in a long time, but back in 2013, 14, I would watch that quite a bit. There was some stuff that was pretty good.
Yeah. Funny people just stay that way. That's all I'm saying.